This week on the Tie-ins, we are mixing it up just a little bit. We had our first guest, and we made him talk so long that it actually ended up being enough for 2 episodes. So this first mini episode is basically a normal mini episode with a guest, and in 2 weeks we'll release the interview with Troy Humphreys about DDC, and enjoy! Hello and welcome to the Tie-ins. I'm Johnny.
I'm Cartel.
I'm Mike.
We have a very special guest with us today, a friend of ours. I was speaking to him just the other day, trying to sound smart. I brought up path tracing that I just watched a video on, not even knowing that it was a lighting effect. And and he informed me that the next new lighting step was probably going to be AI. And that gave me the idea to do his intro with AI. So I got ChatGPT, and this is ChatGPT's introduction to our guest, Troy Humphreys. Welcome to the podcast that's so funny it'll make your ears bleed with joy. Today we have a very special guest who's no stranger to the world of gaming. He's the man who put the geek in game developer, the master of all things digital, and the inventor of the rage quit. Yeah, I know. Button, we think. That's right, folks. It's Troy Humphreys. He's the brains behind some of the most mind-bogglingly awesome games of all time, including Alien Invasion: The Dance-Off and Unicorn Racing Championship 3000. But don't let his intimidating resume scare you, because he's also one of the funniest and most down-to-earth guys in the biz. So sit back, relax, and get ready to press play on an hour of pure gaming goodness with the one and only Troy Humphreys. Hey, Troy. None of that's true about you.
None of that's true. It's very nice, but yeah, none of that's true.
The unicorn game is true.
No, it is not.
I would totally play Alien Invasion: The Dance-Off, just so you know.
That's pretty rad that it came up with that. Yeah. Good stuff.
It's the geek and game developer.
Yep.
I don't know if we have other friends that probably do that better than me, but I'm a close runner-up.
Inventor of the rage quit button?
Yeah.
I think that's right up your alley.
Sure.
So, I did a little bit of studying up on you, Troy, today.
Oh yeah, did you?
On your LinkedIn profile,
Oh man.
you have 669 followers. Nice.
That really means they're all recruiters, I'm sure.
But yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of your background, your education experience and whatnot, and let everybody know what the fuck you're doing here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm a game developer. I work for a studio called Lightspeed LA. It's a brand new studio. It's one of Tencent's first studios out in the U.S. I'm a principal gameplay programmer over there, but my focus is on the game AI for the project. I've been doing video games since '05, so I've been around for a bit now. They'd call me, I think I'd be qualified as a vet in the industry, but really. Anybody over probably about 6 years is considered a vet, so I'm a very old vet. Let's see. My educational background is I have an AS in game development and design from Full Sail. I got that with Mike. That's where I met him, and Cartel. And what else? I think that's kind of it for my background. I've worked for Activision for 7 years, working on games like The Bourne Conspiracy, Transformers, Fall of Cybertron, and War for Cybertron. Then I worked at
Tie-ins.
Yeah. Definitely possible tie-ins. Let's see. Then I went over to worked at a studio called Turtle Rock Studios, where I worked on Evolve, and then recently worked on Back 4 Blood. And currently at Lightspeed, we're working on a new unannounced project. And yeah, it's going really good. So.
Awesome.
That's me.
Well, how have you been? Haven't talked to you in a couple days.
Good.
Feeling better? I heard you were sick.
Yeah. So I got the GDC flu, which is tradition. I think I got two different. I got sick. I got like a throat thing, and then I got COVID as well. So it's my first time getting COVID. Yeah, super fun. got my whole house sick, so my brother and wife are really stoked about that. And yeah, man, it's been about 2 weeks of dealing with this. So, but I'm feeling better. I should be back at work this week, and excited to get back.
Well, we appreciate you doing this with us, even though you've been basically dying for a week now.
No problem, man.
Cartel, Mike, how you guys doing? I haven't talked to either of you in like a week.
I've just been busy rock and rolling, rock and rolling them shows. So, yeah.
Living that band life.
Pretty much. Just,
I have just been working, and now with the nicer weather, just getting out and doing yard work. So nothing exciting at all. Just the normal homeowner crap.
Awesome.
Yes.
Has anybody played any new games? Watched any new television movies?
I think I already mentioned Grand Crew, right?
Which one?
But yeah, I don't think Grand Crew I already mentioned, but I don't think I've seen anything else new lately.
How about you, Troy?
I've been playing Everspace 2. Just came out of early access, I think 2 days ago, and so I've been playing a bunch of that.
That today.
Yeah, man, super fun. If you like arcadey, space combat, it's really really polished and well done. And yeah, been super stoked. It's been a little bit annoying because I've played the beginning 3 times now. So I just got through the beginning for the 3rd time, and so now I can finally start seeing like new stuff in the game and stuff. So pretty cool, pretty stoked.
Michael, how about you?
I finally beat the main storyline of Tiny Tina, and I think we were just talking about games where you beat the game and then there's like still more to do, or you have to play it over again.
New Game Plus?
Yeah, so it's not quite like that,
or
but
end game.
It adds some sort of end game component, but I haven't quite figured out yet. There's just like these almost like instances that you can just start up, and then you just go in there and you can choose the difficulty, and the higher the difficulty, the better the loot drop. But I don't know if that's the only end game. Like, am I just gonna do this over and over again just to get better loot, but there's no more story? And if so, not much of an end game. So
it's
I don't
like
know yet.
running a raid, or
Yeah, basically. So I don't know. It might be fun with other people, but probably not solo. But we'll see. I don't know. Right when I beat the main storyline, I did it once, and then shut it off for the night. So we'll have to see if it has any more depth than that. But it must, because like the stats that you can do are like up to 20, and I only have like it has this weird stat thing where you have to like rotate around through all the different stat trees. Every single time you level up, you can only put them in one of the trees. And I'm only like at 4 out of 20 in each of the trees. So
oh wow.
There's got to be more end game than this that I just don't know about. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, there's got to be. Haven't played that one yet. I keep telling myself
It's
I'm
fun.
gonna play, but yeah, my buddies Dave and Corey actually are lead level guys, level designers on that, and I feel bad I haven't played it yet, so I gotta get in there. But I heard it's really cool. I got to talk to them recently, and sounds super fun. So I definitely want to try it.
That's how I feel about basically every single one of our Canadian friends' games. I have not played any of them except for Overwatch.
Right.
I actually got into the Spellcraft playtest, which I just recently found out was an open playtest, so they invited me to something I could have just fucking joined. But
what is that game?
It's being put together by like some WoW and Diablo, ex-Diablo guys. It is hard to describe. It is, you know what hero clicks are?
Is that the
Little
old
WoW.
miniatures game?
Yeah, like little figurines.
Yeah, and there's like the little.
I would describe it as hero clicks, but you're playing with 3 of them at a time, and it's real time, no turn based.
Interesting.
And it's a 3-on-3 kind of battle. Rounds are quick. The art is, I love the art. It's like, it's cartoony, but it is little figurines on a little board, and it makes the little board noises when they click and everything. That's pretty cool. I've been enjoying that. It's a little hectic once you start, because like I said, you're playing 3 characters at once, and it's not turn-based. But yeah, I've been enjoying that. And then I really loved, and I was late because I didn't realize it was a game, but Sega on April Fool's Day dropped The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I heard about that.
And it's a nice little detective point and click you can't really lose.
Right.
Like if you hit something wrong, they're like, oh, I don't know about that. Why don't you try something else? But when you are trying to figure something out, it has a little run-in, collect rings, Sonic the Hedgehog game, and it's pretty awesome.
Oh,
Nice.
would it be kind of like a Telltale style game, like that, like where it's
Yeah, I would say it's like that, but it's just still pictures. It's like old school point and
okay,
click.
cool.
But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. It's only like 2 hours to beat. Cool little
Nice.
Sonic story.
Yeah. I want to check that out. I heard the name of it, but I didn't know Sega did it. I thought maybe it was like a like fan project or something.
Yeah, I thought it was like just a post or like a short story that they dropped on April Fools.
That's
But
fun.
it's a nice little game.
Nice.
All right, well, why don't we get into this week's Getting to Know Your Host question? Getting to know your host and guest. Mike, you son of a bitch. This week's question was obviously, Troy, every question that we ask you is going to be not including what you're working on right now.
Okay.
So that you don't have to say, what I'm working on now is my best,
Nice.
But what would be your dream gaming project?
Oh,
Troy,
boy.
we'll start with you.
Oh my gosh. That's such a fun question. I don't know, man. I spent a lot of time thinking about this. My dream project would be it's a little bit how the game is made, and like there's lots of different ways to make video game, and most of the ones that I've been experienced haven't been super thrilled about. There's always these nasty kind of issues that come up. So basically what I would want to make is something kind of close to a Souls-like, but this Souls combat, but more of a roguelike. So I really like that kind of combat. I think it's super fun. But I would want it to be set in like a space opera type of situation. I'd also like the space combat kind of like Everspace 2, which I really enjoy. So some kind of mix of that. Like, to be honest, I just want to be like Han Solo or someone like getting into trouble in the universe and have great combat and be able to play with my friends. So
you want a roguelike, Souls-like to the tune of Coheed and Cambria. Just
maybe, yeah.
Follow that space opera.
Yeah, sure. I think like so when you think of like really I want to be in a position to have lots of different subgroups of developers working on the project that could tell their own stories in the same kind of universe, right? So you look at like things like Marvel and Star Wars, right? Like if Star Wars, the IP was open to anybody to like do stories, there's tons of different things that you can make in that universe, right? And I think that like if you can lay out a good kind of IP and world and let other people play in it, I think you can come up with some really really fun experiences for people. So I don't think a lot of games really figure out how to make content at a good pace, and that's like kind of affordable. And I'd like to solve that problem. I always hate like getting into games where you're like in Destiny, which is like an amazing game, but you end up running through the same open areas and the same strikes over and over and over again, and I get really bored of doing that, even though I really enjoy the combat and the setting and all that kind of stuff. So I really would rather people solve the content creation issue and build more content that I could just burn through. If you look at
because
like
when they go the other way, they do it like randomly generated content or with some certain set of rules, like with No Man's Sky or Minecraft or even Diablo to some extent with their dungeons, where they get around the content creation problem by using an RNG, but then the quality of it just suffers so much. Or you end up with No Man's Sky where everything is just desolate and boring.
Yeah, so the PCG is like incredibly difficult. I think there's a lot of studios that do actually pretty well. Um, Path of Exile does some really great stuff with how they build their maps. And it doesn't need to be so different that it's a complete unique experience every time. But I do want it to be different. Like I don't want to know every corner and every turn and all that kind of stuff. So Path of Exile is a good example. I think Warframe does some pretty interesting stuff with their tiles. I think there's more room to go with their levels or their procedural level generation stuff. Remnant from the Ashes is also another procedurally generated, which you start to recognize the tiles being reused, but if you solve the tile creation process and do a little bit of the design direction that like Path of Exile does with their maps, I think you can really start getting into a really fun space where you're putting out content very fast, and designers can mess with that procedural generation in order to tell particular stories, right? And so, yeah, that's the real trick with PCG, right? Is all of a sudden you're making more content for sure, but you got to be worried about the like I got a universe filled with nothing
Yeah,
problem
yeah,
that No Man's Sky started out with for
yeah.
sure. They've really improved that game. So like I really need to jump back into it and see what else they've made. But
So, in your idea with other, you thinking dev studios or like mod teams or actual individual players making content?
so in my scenario, like the studio would be set up to you kind of have like two flavors of teams in the studio. You have your what I would call like pipeline teams and core team, and so these people are really about building content fast, but not necessarily content that like is a whole level or a whole quest or something like that. It's more like you have like your character team, right, which is doing everything from just pumping out character after character after character that fits in your IP. So you imagine if we're using Star Wars as an example, right? You just have your character team pumping out different type of alien species and characters and stuff like that, even if they don't know what quests and storylines and stuff that those characters would be in. You just keep them pumping out those character models, right? Same thing for animation, for the environments, props, all that kind of stuff, sounds, music, all that kind of stuff. So you just have these teams making this stuff, and they're essentially making, you can think like the toys in the toy box, right? So when your quest teams jump on, that would be like the other teams that are doing quests and stories and stuff like that. They're looking at this big collection of assets that they could use in order to make the different stories that they want to make
Right.
without a lot of change, right? So if you set up the studio that way where you're just constantly churning out content, and then you have other parts of the studio use that content to create stories and stuff, I think that would be kind of like the sweet spot. Path of Exile actually does a very similar approach. They have teams like that, and then they have their, I think they call them their battle pass, but I think they call them, what is it, like whatever their battle pass thing is. They have a team that basically goes, oh, we got to do another battle pass. What do we got? And they just use that, add a little bit of extra on top, and then they pump out that new battle pass or season pass. Sorry, is probably a better
Season
way.
is what they do.
Yeah. They use seasons.
They just hit their highest player numbers too after the Diablo beta went offline.
Really, yeah. They're monsters. They really got it figured out. And super smart procedural generation techniques. Really smart with how they build content. Everybody should be looking at what they're doing in order to make games faster. Because I think they really, and they're doing it from a top-down isometric approach, right? I just think we're waiting for more kind of shooters and third-person games to do this, right? Like Warframe and Remnant are close, right? With the procedural generation. I don't think they're quite taking it to the place that the PoE guys do, but it's definitely there. So, because and what's really important, why I like this idea is that I've met so many developers that could be game directors in their own right, but there just isn't that many jobs to do that, right? And
Yeah.
you really want to see these people cut their teeth on, taking a team of like 5 to 10 people and doing their own arc in a story, right? And just building their own characters, like taking from the pool of characters, doing a little bit of modifications, like if you think of like Boba Fett, right? Like, like that guy was just a dude in cool armor, and they built a whole species of people, the Mandalorians, based off that thing, right? Like
Yep.
that kind of stuff can find, you can imagine one of these directed teams, right, looking at it and go, oh, this armor, this alien's super cool looking. I could totally make this into a fun character and kind of fill out what that species is and all that kind of stuff with the story, and just let them play. And I think, if we're in that spot where people either churning out content because they just really like making characters, or animations or environments and stuff, and then you have your quest teams that really enjoy kind of putting that stuff together, and making something fun out of it. Boy, that just would be such a fun project to work on.
I know.
I got a question about those levels. Like a game like Dead Cells, where it's like 2D,
Yeah.
not necessarily 3D, but it's still like new map every time, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's procedure generated. I don't know what I haven't read about that algorithm, like exactly what they're doing. I don't know if they have like chunks that they're stitching together or what. But yeah, from what I understand, you can go through the map. It's been a while since I played Dead Cells, but
they
it's
just dropped a Castlevania update, so
Yeah.
I picked it up on my Switch.
right. Yeah.
So-
People, I mean, the game is really good. Like it's
oh, I've been having a great time
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
yeah. They do an amazing job with that game for sure. And there's a lot of
Yeah,
cool
I was just
crossovers.
curious if it. I'm sure so. Then it is different than from like a 2D and 3D, then, right?
So, I mean, the general concepts of how they put that stuff together, if it's a tile-based kind of approach, are similar, but there's different constraints, right? Because of like that's a vertical side scroller, versus where like Path of Exile is like a type down isometric, which is basically like a tap down 2D. It's a 3D game, but because of the camera, it's basically 2D, right? But then you look at Warframe or Remnant, they're like kind of big level
up, yeah.
chunks, right, that they're
Yeah.
stitching together. And so, or like No Man's Sky is completely procedural, like everything is procedurally
Yes.
created. So they're not like the trouble with No Man's Sky is, right, is like you don't have a designer necessarily involved in sculpting, a planet, where in
There's not a giant map. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
where in like Remnant, you'll have them, there's a level designer putting a tile together, right?
Yeah.
At least.
Pre-made map.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. So they could play that tile by itself and kind of go through and say, hey, this is fun. Does this play well, and all that kind of stuff. So
Well,
When you're doing your algorithm for your procedurally generated, I was just watching a video earlier today on Meet Your Maker. Have you guys seen that?
yeah.
When it's first person shooter, but you're building labyrinths for other people to attack and whatnot.
Yeah.
But when you're building your labyrinth, they have a little robot that has to be able to walk through from start to finish,
Right.
or you can't publish your map. When you're building your algorithm, it's obviously would be faster than watching an actual robot walk a path. But is it like the same thing going on with the procedurally generated, like
No.
to keep you from hitting dead ends and whatnot, or?
I mean, no. So the reason why they do that is because they have no idea how people are going to build their spaces, right? Because it's kind of like a voxelized tool set. And so they want to make sure that there's a physical path, right? You could put like your vault or whatever and just build walls all the way around it, and if the walls are indestructible, then like they're building maps that can't be played, right? They can't be won. So there are things that people do, and there's just so many different ways of doing procedural generation, but a lot of them, let's say there's like I think the Path of Exile guys, they have slightly different procedural generation schemes for kind of like the overworld versus dungeon. And like the dungeon stuff, I think they could say like, okay, I got a starting room, I got a boss room, just procedurally connect those with other rooms, and they can control how many kind of branching points come off that main golden path is typically what we call from the start to end, is whatever that path is typically called the golden path, where we expect the player to kind of move through, and every branch off that or potential like interesting things down a path, like a chest or maybe like a mini boss or something like that. So they can have algorithms that like kind of guarantee that there will be a solution. Then there's other algorithms kind of like that are as an example like waveform collapse, which that thing basically flood fills all the possibilities of tiles in the space and makes sure that they all connect correctly. And then you'd have to do some kind of pathfinding like they're doing with that little bot to see if it can kind of move through the space to make sure it's a good map. So yeah, like sometimes you have to do that. Maybe not like a robot, like a bot that you're watching in game for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Like that's not that's not
Yeah,
typically
yeah,
what you need to do.
Oh, I assume that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you'll have to, depending on the procedural generation algorithm, you'll have to make sure that you can get from start to end.
Do you remember we did that in our first C++ class? We procedurally generated a maze with Arthur, and then
Yeah,
the next lab we had to make the constraint that it was actually solvable.
but we didn't know how to do pathfinding or anything yet. Like, how did we do that? I don't remember. I mean,
I
'cause
think
this was 20 years ago.
yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I think the constraint was as simple as had to connect with the block behind you or something like that.
Hmm.
I can't remember exactly what
Oh,
it was, but you're
maybe
right.
like
We
you just
didn't know,
breadcrumb through it. Yeah, we didn't know any search
yeah,
algorithms and stuff at the
but
time.
we didn't know A star at the time.
No, yeah. We just learned C++, so yeah, we didn't know shit. We thought we knew everything. I remember finishing that class and going, I could do anything, and then you quickly realize, oh no, I still have lots to learn. So yeah, man, procedural generation. I just think there's so much space to play with kind of design directed procedural generation, and we're just missing out. We're missing out on it. There's all these games we could be playing, and not a lot of people want to try to make them. So it's a real bummer. I want to do that. Someone give me some money.
I think everybody's answer is going to end with somebody give us some money
Yeah.
so we can make our dream game. Cartel, what would be your dream?
So
Castlevania.
I mean,
Castlevania,
no.
but you're playing basketball.
no, I would love to get the light guns working again somehow.
Right on. Some periffs.
Yeah, like I mean, because House of the Dead and Rambo and like even like even going back to like Duck Hunt and Safari Hunt on the Genesis, or I mean the Sega Master System, but something like that, or if that's not gonna happen because we don't have the technology yet, then like a shoot 'em up. Like I always thought like shoot 'em ups seem like a real easy project to do. It's just a lot of math, right?
Like a run and gun side scroller? Shoot 'em
Like
up?
an
or...
like an Ikaruga or
Ooh,
you
that's a
know,
good game.
It is a good game.
so yeah, something like that, because you could even if you get it super easy, even like a runner, you can make it even a mobile. So then you get that mobile money, right?
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know how to do any of that. So what up, guys?
that's why it's dream.
Right? Yeah.
That's why it's me going. There's the idea, guys. What do we got to do?
Well, there's the new craze, which is the like Ikaruga, I think would be known as like a bullet hell, and
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
there's what are they calling it? Like a bullet heaven, which is the like Vampire Survivors and those types of
Oh.
games.
Oh, okay.
There's been a
Yeah.
resurgence, which is like so it's like a roguelite
Yes.
bullet heaven where the abilities just trigger for you, and all you're doing is trying to avoid the incoming characters and try to create a build where you're just like an unstoppable monster. And they're super fun.
That reminded me, I beat when I was a kid. Is it 1942? The
Oh, I know what you're
airplane?
talking about. The airplane one.
Oh
I beat
yeah.
that. I beat that in the arcade hooked to my grandparents' pizza place. I only did the controller, and a dude that worked at the pizza place jammed on the button.
Wow. Yeah.
And we beat it 1/4.
Nice.
That was one of my favorite Nintendo games. It was 1942.
Mm.
It's a good game. Mackle, your dream project?
It's kind of nebulous, but it's a little bit like PlanetSide 2, or you could consider it like StarCraft if it was first person and there's resources and stuff like that. But I want like massive battle between two sides. Although it doesn't have to be too massive. I guess like 20v20 is okay too, or even 10v10. But I like capture the flag quite a bit. Although it wouldn't have to be. You could have like capture and hold or objectives or something like that. But I do want it to be like esport like. So there's definitely two teams. There's definitely an objective, and there's definitely a win condition. And I just really like in like Battlefield 1942 and in Tribes before it went competitive and everyone just got rid of vehicles. The things you could do with vehicles were just ridiculous. And same with Battlefield 1942. Like you could jump in like a single person plane, like the Corsair or something like that.
Yeah.
And
I
then
remember
like
that.
one person could just stand on the wing and you could just take off. And like there was all sorts of game breaking things in both of those games that were just like emergent play just because of how the physics worked in them. And I think that I want to like lean into that. And so with the StarCraft analogy, like you'd be able to go out on the map and like find some resources and stuff like that, and you're battling over the resources to upgrade your base or something like that, and then you could get like battle cruisers or something like that. Somebody on your team can actually get in that battle cruiser. Somebody's going to pilot it, and somebody's going to be terrible at piloting it. Somebody's going to man the guns, and then if you have like Just Cause 3 grapple hooks, the other team's going to see you have battle cruisers or something like that, and jetpack up to them, like grapple hook your battle cruiser to something else that makes it fly into the ground, like just all sorts of emergent gameplay like that based on the weapons and the things that you can upgrade into or the classes that you spawn with or something like that. And I think it's gonna be cool because in like League of Legends or something like that, you can change your loadout, like your build, based on like how your team is doing or how the other team's doing. Or like in Overwatch, you can change your class like mid game based on like who their heroes are, and it kind of be the same thing. Like if they're going heavy air, then you can switch your builds and go anti-air or something like that. So that's the gist of it. It's just some sort of FPS esport that actually has resources where you can upgrade your base, upgrade into vehicles or things like that.
It's kind of like I mean, it reminds me of like PlanetSide with their construction system, or the old games where I guess they those actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they didn't have vehicles, but yeah, those games are like, I always find like all of those things you said were things that I'm like, yeah, I want to do that stuff, but then you with the resource gathering, you always have these like difficult problems where it's like who's gonna shovel the resource into the thing so we can buy the cruiser. And then
This guy right here.
Well, so I was thinking
yeah,
about that.
but
I was thinking that the resource gatherers could actually be non-players, just like they were in
StarCraft. Like
StarCraft, yeah. So like you
you're
may
just protecting
have
them.
you could perhaps upgrade how many resource gatherers you had, but you're actually just protecting them. You're not going to be a resource gatherer.
So there's like a control panel you run up to, and it opens up the map, and you tell your resource gatherers where to go, what to get.
Yeah. Or
the other team could also destroy your resource gatherers, so then you'd have to get more.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
I see it.
Yeah. I mean, how would you handle like what's the team size that you're kind of thinking?
I'm not sure, like because you got to be realistic and like how fast the matches can go and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I would want them to be. I think that the map size could determine how big they were, because like you think of like StarCraft, and some of them were 2v2 maps and some of them were 4v4 maps. So you could do things like that. I think 10v10 was a ton of fun in Tribes, but that's too much in Quake. Like in Quake, 4v4 was perfect.
How big of the vehicles are we talking? Because like
I don't want them to be too big. They got to be ridiculously like emergent gameplay has to appear. So it's going to be like,
so you could have like a tank and then like a bunch of like speeder bikes and 2 persons. Like,
yeah, like 4-person max.
You're like Halo size vehicles. Basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Halo. Yeah. Battlefront.
Yeah. So they wouldn't really be battle cruisers. They'd be like the Wraiths.
Right. Yeah. It's the difficulty. I think, like, especially if you want it to be an esport, is the number of players, right? Because like you look at something like PlanetSide that has 500 people a server or something like that, and a lot of the players that play that game want it to be a competitive, shooter, and all I can think of is like you can't matchmake. There's no matchmaking going on there,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
like to make things really competitive, you need some kind of matchmaking to match skill level, right? So as you increase, it's like if the game requires an increase in player counts, then the competitiveness of that thing just naturally drops, right? So you got to find this because like I think even Battlefield has this issue with the 64 v 64
Hmm.
that they could do on some of their maps, right? Where it's absolute fucking chaos. And
Yeah,
so
no, I'd want it to be done in 30 minutes.
right, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're looking at like so it's like Halo, big team battle, but like with a different way of controlling. Like it's basically like a different game mode, right? With resource
Yeah,
gathering plus
yeah,
vehicles.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
So
Okay.
I got it. So what you want is you want the emergence of Battlefield, Halo, Big Battle, whatever it's called, mixed with what Tribes was when it first came out, with people making turrets and building
Yes.
up their bases.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Oh
also
man, I got
the
all about that.
ridiculousness of it all, like that, like you can't lose the ridiculousness of it.
I forgot all about those mini inventory things and.
But
Oh,
everybody's
wow.
walking around as a what is that Double Fine game that we play all the time?
I have no idea what game.
Where we if the 4-player fucking fight. Double
Oh,
Fine
Gang
game?
Beasts.
Gang Beasts, yes, but everybody's Gang Beasts so that it's silly.
Not exactly, because I want I do like the movement of Tribes. Like I do want you to be a badass. I want you to be awesome and like zip around the map. But I want like super ridiculous stuff to happen because the physics system is so good and like things like the Just Cause 3 grapple hooks are hilarious and sticky grenades in Halo making the like loading up something with sticky grenades and shooting it across the map is hilarious. So I need things like that to come out
Mm.
that you didn't think of.
Does it need to be like if that's like a big part of it, should it even be an esport though?
I think so
You think?
because
Like
it's an open playing field.
yeah, but isn't someone like I mean I could see just people jumping in with two of their buddies or three of their buddies and stuff and just trolling, with a plane with three guys on the wing with rocket launchers and stuff, just messing with people. And like that, I mean that wouldn't be good for an esport. It sounds like a lot of fun, right? But like
Well,
the
there's
the
I mean,
shenanigans might be game breaking almost, depending on how
yeah,
you
I
do
mean, you got to weigh that, right? Like,
it. Sure.
it can't be a game-breaking shenanigan, but generally speaking, when something like that comes out, it's overpowered for a few days or weeks while people are figuring out the counter to it, and then someone figures out the counter.
Mm,
So that's like the meta's always changing as people learn new things.
that's cool. Sweet.
You want to tap into the skiing
Yes,
that
yeah.
Tribes had. You want to
But
tap
also-
into that you want to hit that magic point.
Also,
Where-
the ramming people with a scout. Because the
Yeah.
rockets were so bad in it, but you just go kamikaze instead and jump out at the last second.
My dream game project is short and sweet. Actually, it's I would like to get all of you and all your video game coding friends in a room because I work better in person and just come up with really weird, off the wall stories and game mechanics. Basically, I want to be like Inscription, how that starts off as a card game and then goes into a whole nother world. I want to make those kind of games. I also want to add in like internet egg hunts that are part of the game, real world egg hunts that are part of the game, all kinds of weird, dumb stuff. Because that's my dream, is just to come up with these dumb ideas like a podcast and execute them. But I have absolutely no idea how to work a computer, so I would just be standing behind you guys telling you to do dumb stuff.
Really, you just want minions.
I mean, you guys can have your own ideas too. I'm totally okay with that. I just, don't
So what
want
are
you.
the
I want people that won't say no to my stupid ideas.
what are the
Good luck.
hours of this
That's
minion
hard.
squad?
There's no pay, so I mean, couple hours a week.
Okay. Okay.
All right, and with that, let's move on to our last segment here before we start drilling Troy with questions. This is the segment where we highlight a Game Pass game to try to get Xbox to sponsor the podcast because we're poor. This is Gamepassin You Buy. I also went to ChatGPT to introduce this week's Gamepassin You Buy.
Oh, gotta hear this.
So here we go. Are you tired of playing games that sound like they were made by a band of tone-deaf robots? Then it's time to switch to Hi-Fi Rush, the game that's music to your ears and your funny bone. With more beats per minute than a caffeinated kangaroo and more grooves than a disco ball, Hi-Fi Rush will have you tapping your toes and giggling like a schoolgirl, so plug in your headphones, crank up the volume, and get ready to rock out with your joystick out. Yeah. ChatGPT is my best new friend.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, rock out with your joystick out was a little risque.
Yeah.
that's, we might get canceled for that one.
Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm-based action game developed by Tango Gameworks, published by Bethesda. It was ghost dropped on January 25th, 2023 this year. Have you guys all played this game?
I checked it out.
Yep, I played it.
Played the first hour of it. Yeah.
It is just pure video game joy to me.
Yeah, they did a good job, man.
I'm usually not a fan of fighting to a rhythm, but they've made it loose enough that even if you suck at keeping to the rhythm, you can still get through. And it's a nice little platformer. It's a video game-ass video game, as, what's his name?
Are you talking about Jake Baldino?
It's a video game-ass video game, as Jake Baldino would say.
JB, we apologize for that.
Jakey with the good hair. We're kind of pushing time here, and I don't want to hold Troy up too much, so I'll just let's just get into would you recommend it? Cartel, would you recommend Hi-Fi Rush?
I would say get into this. Give it a play.
Michael?
Definitely try it out. Yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea, but yeah, try it out. It's well made. Give it a shot.
Troy?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you like rhythm games, you'll be very much at home. And like you said, if you're not very good with rhythm games, as I am not, it was still super playable. The style of it's great. The music's great. The voiceover is awesome. The mechanics just feel super tight and easy to play. So a little slow to start, in my opinion, but yeah.
I agree.
Definitely would pick it up.
Hey, it reminded me a lot of the Transformers Devastation. I don't know if anyone played that, but just like an easy beat 'em up. That was also had a really good art style. So yeah.
I don't think I ever played that, but yeah, I would definitely recommend it. The art style's awesome. It's got licensed music, but they also have unlicensed music, so it's not going to be delisted next year. There's a robot cat that follows you around. I mean, duh.
It's hard to
play
beat
that. When there's a robot cat, you play that. That's what I always say when I'm in.
I'm sure that's going to be our first T-shirt.
when
there's
I'm
a robot cat,
lawyer.
you play that.
All right, and that.
So
was
there we
the
go.
Fastest game passing you by.
We need some artwork for that robot cat. You got to play that. So that's T-shirt right there. I know I'm talking over everything, but this is notes that needs to be. Write down this on your post-it notes when you're editing.
Yep. All right, so let's take a break real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll bombard Troy with questions. Follow us at TheTie-ins on all social media.
Join our Discord, the link to which can be found on all said social media.
Join our Patreon at patreon.com/TheTie-ins.
And please remember to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform.
It helps connect us to more listeners like you.
Well, not like you. Better, cooler listeners.